Okay, so a really tough start today. 2 bodies discovered northeast of Winnipeg, and the belief is it's connected to these devastating wildfires.
Yeah, it's grim news.
It immediately brings us to what we need to talk about in this deep dive. This incredibly serious wildfire situation that's unfolding in eastern Manitoba.
Mm-hmm.
We've pulled together the latest info, trying to get a clear picture of what's actually going on.
Right. There's a lot happening.
And it's not just about the land burning. It's about lives tragically lost, communities turned upside down, hundreds, maybe thousands, forced out of their homes.
Absolutely.
So our goal here, our mission, is to really understand the scale, the driving forces, and the impact of these fires based on what we've learned.
And that discovery near Wendigo Road, tragically, it really does confirm, as Superintendent Chris Hasty put it, their worst fears. Yeah. The assumption is these deaths are directly from fire-related injuries. Yeah. It just makes it immediately personal, doesn't it? It's not some distant event.
You really hear that weight, that personal impact. In the words of Lauren Schinkel, the Reeves for the RM of Lac du Bonnet, he talks about the community just grieving. And it really highlights how close people are in these areas, how deeply a tragedy like this hits.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just abstract numbers. It's neighbors, friends, families we're talking about.
Yeah.
And you see that reflected higher up, too. Premier Canoe offered condolences. The province pledged support. It signals that recognition of just how devastating this is, and that the need for help isn't just immediate. It's long-term.
Right. The recovery is a whole other phase.
Exactly.
And the displacement itself. The sheer scale of it is pretty significant. We're hearing estimates of about 1,000 people under evacuation orders.
That's the figure, yeah. Around 1,000 people told to leave. And initially, there were some really worrying reports, weren't there? People potentially trapped.
Yeah, trapped by the speed of the fires. And conditions were apparently so bad, rescuers couldn't even get to them right away.
Which just shows how fast these things can move.
Thankfully, it seems like.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't heard more reports of people unaccounted for since those initial ones.
No, thankfully. But that period where people were stranded, it really highlights the sheer unpredictability of these major wildfires. Conditions can just flip, dramatically. Huge challenge for residents and responders alike.
Okay, let's talk about the fires themselves, the physical size. There are 2 main ones causing the most concern, is that right?
Yes, 2 major out-of-control blazes. There's the one near Lac du Bonnet, which is substantial in its own right, about 30 square kilometers.
Okay, 30 square Ks.
But then there's the one near Nopiming Provincial Park. That one is, well, it's vastly larger, estimated around 1,000 square kilometers.
1,000. That's enormous. It's hard to even picture.
It's massive, roughly the size of a large city area. It gives you a sense of the immense area affected.
And I read that crews haven't really been able to engage directly with that huge Nopiming fire. Why is that?
That's right. The Manitoba Wildfire Service described the fire behavior there as extremely volatile.
Extremely volatile.
Yeah. Which usually means, intense heat, strong winds interacting with all the dry fuel. It creates these incredibly dangerous, unpredictable conditions. Sometimes fires like that even create their own weather, making it worse.
Wow.
So, yeah, trying to fight it directly head-on becomes just too risky for the firefighters.
Understood. And we're also hearing that some buildings, some structures have been lost, though they can't fully assess the damage yet.
Correct. Confirmation of lost structures, even without a final count, just adds another layer of tragedy and hardship. It means homes, maybe businesses, livelihoods potentially gone, on top of everything else.
So what? What's making these fires spread so fast and get so big? It's clearly more than just, an ignition source.
Oh, absolutely. The main culprits are the conditions they've had persisting in eastern Manitoba. Dry, hot, and windy, especially in and around those provincial parks.
The trifecta.
Exactly. Low humidity dries everything out, creating tons of tinder dry fuel that ignites easily. That low fuel moisture, plus the strong winds. It means embers can travel huge distances, starting new fires ahead of the main front. That's called spotting.
Right, spotting. So it just leaps ahead.
Precisely. It's a classic recipe for rapid wildfire growth.
A real perfect storm of conditions. So, facing this, what's been the official government response? What actions are being taken?
Well, the province has rolled out extensive mandatory evacuation orders. It's pretty widespread.
Like what kind of areas?
We're talking 5 provincial parks completely closed and evacuated. 3 local authorities like RMs have orders, 3 northern communities, and 24 cottage subdivisions.
24 cottage subdivisions. Wow. That's a lot of people potentially affected, even if it's seasonal places.
It is. It shows how broad the threat is.
And Whiteshell Provincial Park. That was added to the list more recently, wasn't it? What triggered that decision?
Yeah, the Whiteshell closure and evacuation really highlights how dynamic this all is. Authorities said it was because of rapidly changing weather conditions, almost changing, they said, hour to hour.
Hour to hour, that's fast.
It really is. It just underlines how quickly fire behavior can shift, forcing them to act immediately to get people out of harm's way.
It paints a picture of just an incredibly difficult situation. Kristen Hayward from the Manitoba Wildfire Service had that quote, didn't she? Saying Manitoba is one of the most active jurisdictions right now in Canada for complex fires.
Yeah, that's a stark assessment. It really emphasizes the strain they must be under resources, people managing multiple huge complex fires at the same time. The conditions there are just particularly bad right now.
So looking forward, any relief in sight? What's the weather forecast saying? Is rain coming?
There is some hope, I suppose. They are expecting some precipitation later in the week.
Okay, well that sounds good, potentially.
Potentially, yes. But it's important to temper that hope. Kristen Hayward's assessment was pretty clear. The amount of rain currently forecast probably won't be enough to really knock these big fires down significantly.
So a little bit of rain won't cut it.
Not for fires of this scale and intensity, no. It might dampen things temporarily, maybe slow the spread a bit, but it won't put them out.
So what kind of rain do they actually need?
What they really need, as Hayward put it, is a good soaking rain. She mentioned specifics. A couple of inches, maybe a couple of days of rain, along with higher humidity and cooler temperatures.
Right. Prolonged soaking rain to really penetrate the dry fuel.
Exactly. That's what's needed to properly dampen the fire activity and give the firefighters a chance to make real headway.
That sounds like asking a lot, given the current pattern. Now, you mentioned the conditions are widespread. This isn't contained just within Manitoba's borders, is it? There's a fire near Ontario, too.
That's correct. There's another significant out-of-control fire burning near Ingolf, right on the Manitoba-Ontario boundary. It's about 70 kilometers west of Kenora.
Okay. And how's that one behaving?
It's also growing rapidly. Worryingly so. It apparently more than doubled in size just since Tuesday, now covering around 230 square kilometers.
Doubled in size, wow.
Yeah, it shows these dangerous conditions aren't just isolated to one spot in Manitoba, it's a regional issue.
And straddling the border like that must add complications, right? Coordination, resources.
It definitely does. We know the Ontario Provincial Police, the OPP, have been involved in helping evacuate a First Nation community that's northeast of that fire.
Okay.
And as a precaution, they're also advising residents and cottagers on several lakes near that boundary area, places like Malachi Lake, Ontario Lake, to evacuate as well.
So it's pushing people out on both sides of the border, potentially.
It demonstrates that interconnectedness, yeah. The impacts can easily spill across provincial lines.
It just really drives home how volatile and widespread this whole situation is, not something that's going to be resolved easily or quickly.
No, absolutely not. And the fire officials themselves are using terms like rapidly evolving,
Right.
which basically means, things on the ground can change incredibly fast. We might see more evacuation orders, more restrictions put in place just to keep people safe and allow the fire crews to do their work. It demands constant monitoring and adaptation.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, what's the main takeaway? What should we really understand about these Manitoba wildfires?
I think the core message is just the profound seriousness and the complex nature of what's happening in eastern Manitoba right now. We've talked about the tragic human cost, the huge number of people displaced, and the immense challenge these massive volatile fires present, all fueled by these prolonged, dry, windy conditions. And it's still very much ongoing. It's dynamic. There's potential for more significant impacts in the coming days, maybe even weeks. It's just a stark reminder of, the power of nature and how vulnerable we can be.
It really is. It makes you pause and think about the devastating impact on individuals, on whole communities. The immediate threat is clear, but like you said, that long road to recovery, that's going to be incredibly tough for everyone affected.
And maybe it prompts a broader thought for all of us, doesn't it? As we seem to be seeing more intense wildfire events like this, what are the bigger lessons here?
Yeah.
How can communities, especially those in areas prone to fire, better prepare? How do we understand the risks, plan for evacuations, build more resilience against this reality that seems to be increasing? It's a conversation that definitely goes beyond just this current crisis in Manitoba.